All right, welcome to another episode of the Saintsaholics Anonymous podcast. It is the post-draft edition.
Draft
we welcome
recap.
all the new Saints/Bulldogs to the team.
Saints/Dogs.
You must be happy.
I'm ecstatic.
Has your erection gone down?
I went to the doctor earlier today.
You're rocking half a chub right now?
I was kind of fine. Well, it's funny because fittingly, my fantasy football team, because I drafted Nick Chubb the first year of our league,
right,
and I drafted another
Swift,
Stafford as well.
You always have two Bulldogs.
I always have at least two dogs. And my fantasy football team is called 2 Dogs, 1 Chubb, which fit perfectly for post round 3 of the Saints draft.
2
applied
dogs
to me.
and 1 Chubb. Yeah,
that's right.
Exactly.
That just about summed up my Friday night in Greenville, Alabama, on the golf trip. Which, I mean, it was all dude, so I'd
Did Eric enjoy it?
I had my privacy. He did. He said he's going to join. But then I had a terrible golf round. Our third round of the weekend was awful. And he's like, but I said I was going to join, and then you went and played like shit. And I was like, no, you said you were going to join on Friday. I played awesome the first round on Saturday. You didn't join. Then I played like shit. So he said he's in though. I told him he could spice things up in there. He's contrarian, but he can back it up.
Okay.
Anyway, but enough about
weight as a rival.
Yeah, enough about Eric. The Saints, I thought, look, Bulldogs aside, I mean, obviously I love those picks, but...
Well, hold on. We're going to get into each pick individually, and we can give our thoughts on it.
Okay, yeah, I was ready to skip past round one and start talking about the dogs. But.
And then, for anyone listening, Nick is here. He's just quiet right now.
Yeah, I'm just
Nick's not sure how he feels about
giving Corey his moment.
It's okay. I'm good. I'll have my moments on my own. It's good.
Okay, well, why don't you start us off with the first pick?
Jordyn Tyson. Yeah, I mean, it's the ultimate, Saints injury pick, right? I mean,
and he was your second wide receiver on your board, correct? You had Tate ahead of him?
Yeah, only because Tate's safer. I think Tate's probably more polished all around, although the scouts say that, Tyson can run more routes than Tate. I don't know that personally for sure. I haven't watched enough film. Surprise. But I love the fact that he's on the taller side. He hits that 200-pound threshold, and the way he just jumps up and makes jungle gym catches is awesome. My concerns, obviously, the injuries, but my concern with him was when he posted that highlight tape of the one workout he did, and people were praising him for, he jukes people out of their shoes off the line. It's like he was going up against a coach in that video. And yes, he did do that in college, but I want, as we develop him, and hopefully we do, I want to see kind of all that pitter-patter crap go away, because when NFL DBs are up on the line and they press him, he's not going to be able to get away with that stuff. But on the flip side of that, the encouraging thing, hearing some of the analysts talk about how he's a great fit with us. So some people were concerned about him where he would land. And they say, him going to a spot where he doesn't have to be the wide receiver 1, where he's in an offense that has the third highest motion rate. They can put him in places where he doesn't necessarily have to get clean releases from press man guys. They can put him in motion, put him in the slot, and kind of free him up coming off the line. So I think we're going to need that to happen for him. So, but again, there's every single day we talk about this guy in the rookie camp, in the mini camp, come training camp, it's going to be, did he finish the day in practice? Did he get hurt? And that's what we have to deal with.
Well, I think it's more than that, and I think you just said it. The biggest part about this is acting like without the injuries, this guy was some kind of star. He wasn't. And you just said people are happy he's going to a place where he doesn't have to be the number 1. It's the 8th pick in the draft. That's a number 1 receiver spot in the draft.
Yeah, well, to say he was...
You're not wrong. I'm agreeing with you.
He was a star for his school in college. I mean, he had the highest percentage target share by... I don't have the chart in front of me, but all receivers in college football, he carried the load more than other receivers. He had the highest traffic rate action. Mickey was right when he said he caught first downs and touchdown. He's good at that,
I mean, that's fine, but in his last year before the final injury, targeting him, you completed 61% of your passes. He has difficulty getting off of press. There's issues with him, and I'm not saying this means he's going to be a bad player. I'm just saying
he has to work on, but I see what you're saying.
But that's not someone you take at 8.
Right.
And even without the injuries, this is a question mark at the 8th pick for me.
Yeah.
And he like the talent obviously is there. We all see that, and the size and everything you talked about. I just think when you're drafting that high a receiver, you'd like to have more of a certainty in your pick. Now, it wouldn't be unprecedented if not. We have the John Rosses of the world, the Tavon Austins, where all of a sudden these meteoric rises kind of up right before the draft, and they kind of get picked a little bit before everybody thought they were going to get picked, and they don't really develop. I think there's holes in his game. That's the only reason I don't like the pick at 8. If we'd have taken him at 17, I'd have been totally good with it. Worth the chance because the talent's there. We all see it. But I think he is an incomplete receiver.
Yeah.
Do I think he fits with the Saints pretty well? Yeah, because to the things you just said, you're going to have to put him in motion. You're going to have to get him into spots where he doesn't have to win right off the ball and press. He's a zone beater. That's where he killed that in college.
Yeah.
Olave is more of a man beater.
Right.
That's a good fit.
Yeah.
So I see what they see, but I just think there were better players there.
Yeah.
And that's the part that bothers me about the pick. But would I be shocked if he comes out and has 1,000 yards year one? No, I wouldn't be that shocked.
Yeah.
I read some report that his dad just came out and said it wasn't actually an ACL, PCL, MCL.
That's
Taylor. It was
surprising,
just an ACL.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
It's a real big deal.
So if that's true, I feel a little bit better about the injury thing. One hamstring, okay. Collarbone, we threw it out with Shough. We got to throw it out with Tyson. That's probably just a freak accident.
It's a bone.
If it's just an ACL, that makes me feel a lot better because when you tear all 3 ligaments, that's a severe injury.
Sounds like it. I mean, I like the fact that there's 2 less CLs that we have to worry about. That was my.
It just means
thought.
Everything blew apart.
My
right?
official medical prognosis was we had three something CLs. Now we have 1. So
Well, the weirdest thing to me is why is that coming out 3 days after he's picked, and why is that not released before?
and from his
Right.
dad, like you mentioned, why wasn't the agent pushing
Yeah,
that
yeah,
out there?
that to me seems
also,
like
and then I
the
thought
agent
like
should put it
why he was asked about his injuries multiple times. Why did not come out of the horse's mouth? Like, why didn't Tyson ever say, like...
Right. I would have been screaming it.
Yeah. I'd be like, my name is Jordyn, only ACL Tyson. Like,
but here's a counterpoint. Maybe this is the information that the NFL teams have, and that's what contributed to this quote-unquote meteoric rise at the last minute.
That's what I was saying in our pre-draft episode where, we have to go back to the transcripts, but I kind of, we predicted just about any possible scenario. So I'm not going to say, I called it, because I actually called Mansour Delane when I switched to my alter ego last time. But I said, when the Tyson hype was at its highest, I think it was like 2 weeks before the draft, when it came out of nowhere. And I said, watch, there's all this
That's
talk.
the Saints pick.
There's all this talk about Tyson. And I said, watch, what we're going to do would be the most Saints thing ever is for him to not come into our building necessarily, but he did, but to work him out ourselves, for him to do the workout on his own for all the teams, and for the Saints to say, look, there's no place with a higher collection of egos in the New Orleans metropolitan area than Airline Drive. And so with all those egos in that building, Mickey's saying, we've got the best doctors. Our doctors know. Our doctors would say, yeah, we know. We can clear this guy. We think it's fine. And then they try to hang their hat on the fact that we're the team, that said, clear him. He's going to come in and go crazy. And all the other teams going to look stupid for passing on him. Like, that's what our building is like. I could just see our building just doing that and just puffing their chests out and saying no. So that's what I said before. And lo and behold, we drafted him. And obviously, I think they have to be doing that at this point. So but it's the ultimate we'll see type of pick. And yeah, to your point at 8, it's a
do
high
you feel
pick
they
to do that
drafted
on.
for need there?
That's
how I feel. Yeah, that's how I feel.
Well, because I looked at it. What I was about to say before we hit record, the more I thought about it, and the more I listened to Mickey, the more I listened to Kellen and their press conferences, is if you're Mickey even said some years you have more. You need more holes you need to fill in defense. Some years it's offense. This year it happened to, basically be offense. And when you really back up and think about it in its most simple form, which again, I disagree personally with doing it in a top 10 pick. But if you're all right, offense, defense, which one was better last year? Defense, obviously. I mean, as great as Shough was towards the end of the year, we still had problem actually scoring touchdowns when we needed.
The offense wasn't great, if you're being honest.
Right.
It wasn't great.
It wasn't.
Okay.
So if you're what did the team need the most? to stay in games or to close out games, even with Shough, it was go get 6. Like, sure, we moved the ball nice, and Shough had great plays, and Shough had some good touchdown passes too, but ultimately we still had a problem like consistently scoring touchdowns and not field goals. And so
I agree with that with one caveat. We did heavily address the biggest issues in free agency before the draft with the guard signing and the running back signing. So we had already
would you call that heavily addressed or like started to address?
That was the two biggest problems
That's
in my
heavily
opinion.
addressed.
I think so. A lot of money, dude.
But
it was a lot of money.
What would your thought have been about the receiver room? I mean, we talked about that too. Like
it needed the most work on offense.
Yeah, so
going into the draft.
you know,
I think so, but I think the receiver part of this draft was from 15 to 40.
we could have got it elsewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
And watching Chris Bell fall all the way as far as
And that's what I said. What did I say? I said one of these 8 is going to fall to us that we all like. One of those 8 will be there. They were there. So could you have done? And look, I was on record of not saying I
42 was obviously too high for Bell, though. You couldn't.
It was, but okay, trade back. There was options there. I would have, having not been a Downs fan, but you could make a much bigger case of taking Downs there and waiting till the second round to get the receiver.
Yeah.
For me. I didn't want him. I think he's a little overrated too, but I don't by any stretch think he's not going to be a good player in the NFL.
Downs?
Yeah, I think his floor is very, very high.
I mean, if you
I
believe,
just don't think his ceiling is Kyle Hamilton or whatever.
If you believe
right?
the consensus of all the talking heads, former players included, guys who actually know their shit, Caleb Downs apparently
Safe
many
bet.
had him as the second best player in the draft.
Right.
I don't know if obviously the clubs did not think that.
I didn't think that, but
you know,
but I do think
He's got
he's
average size for the position, position that is undervalued in the top 10.
But I think he's a pretty safe bet there. We swung for the fences.
he
period.
plays bigger than his size for sure.
Well,
Caleb
it just doesn't matter. We
but-
didn't pick him, so we don't need to dissect
Well, I think
him.
it matters in terms of like how we feel about it, because when I hear Nick saying he's like you don't really get that guy at 8, you'd prefer to see because
but I don't think Downs is relevant at all with it, because what he's saying, and I agree with it 1,000%, is that none of the receivers should have gone at 8.
Right.
Period. So whether it's Downs or whether it's
Even
anybody
Tate,
else.
I didn't feel was a top 8 pick.
I guess my reaction is not like if someone's like give us the 2 one-word answer. It's like I'm not going to say I love it, but I get it for Tyson.
Refresh my memory. Did you feel pre-draft that Tate and Tyson were worthy of top 10 picks? I don't remember. That's what I'm asking.
I'm pretty sure I was in agreement with y'all that these receivers are not.
But did you have them at
top
top 10 in your board?
No.
No, I don't think so. He said Tate was the best one.
That's
Well,
why
that's why I was asking.
Yeah,
I didn't remember.
No, they're not far off the top 10, but like to Nick's point, 13, 14, sure.
Well, no, he said 18. I'll take it a step. If it were 12,
Yeah.
13, 14, I would have been fine with
That's
it.
where I'm at with it. So for me, it's not like I love it. It's more of like I get it. I'm not mad about it. It's just we got a guy who we're going to have to like.
And look, that's why those dudes get paid the big bucks. They got to be right. It's our first top 10 pick in ages, right? Since
Second in 2 years. Or are you talking about wide receiver?
No, top 10. What was the other top 10?
Last year.
Last year, Banks.
Yeah.
So the highest pick we've had since Reggie Bush, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going all the way back to, 05?
Yep.
So highest draft pick in 20 years. You can't miss. So hopefully they're right.
Was Banks 8 or 9?
I thought he was 9. We weren't the 8th pick. This is
9.
the highest pick. He was 9th pick.
Okay, so this is the highest.
Yeah.
Since Reggie.
So, look, Banks looked pretty good, so did good there. This is 2 top 10 picks in 2 years for Kellen. You can't miss this pick because it dictates a lot of what they did the rest of the draft, too.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm going to say this, and I think a lot of the opinions that the Saints fans have on this pick is due to Nick Underhill's, pre-draft breakdowns, film study, all of that stuff, the write-ups, because he gets his information before anybody else does. And, he basically had been throwing out the breadcrumbs about Tyson for a decent little bit. Here's the thing, though. I love Underhill's breakdowns of film. I don't love the takes on the college players. When you start throwing in opinions, because I don't feel like Tyson was a special talent. I just don't. Nick alluded to it in his opening thoughts. I feel the same way. To me, Jordyn Tyson is a receiver that in any given year, if 100% healthy with a clean, injury history, should be picked in the teens. At his healthiest, I do not think he is the number 8 pick in the draft. I've been vocal about that since day one. You and I have been in agreement on it.
What we both said is the only thing I really didn't want us to do is draft a receiver at 8. That was my hope for the first round pick. Go whichever way you want. I just didn't think they were worthy of
exactly. And that goes for Tate, that goes for Tyson, that goes for Lemon. And those were the top 3 in just about everybody's list. Concepcion FC was number 4 on Brugler's list. But none of those guys, to me, are the 8th pick in the draft on any given year. They're just not. This was a weak draft from a top of the draft standpoint when it comes to blue chip talent. There was the one blue chip guy, Jeremiah Love. Everybody else was a red chip. Mm-hmm. And, because of that, you can kind of jumble it up in the bag, and it all depends on team need and team preference on which order they went in. We obviously decided to fill the biggest need still remaining on offense, which is wide receiver, because the wide receiver room, as I've been very vocal about, was absolute shit. There was an episode, I think you were out of town. You and I went through the wide receiver list, and it was despicable.
It's tough.
I want to throw up in my mouth.
It's tough to look at. Yeah,
it was tough to look at. Now, there's something I want to let you cook.
Well, we should probably get into that now, I think.
Let me set you up with it, though. We looked at the wide receiver list, and we bashed it. It was garbage. You're talking about a bunch of fringe, end-of-the-bench guys. It's Olave and a bunch of guys.
Yeah, the guys we rolled out in week 17 or 18, just the one thing I'll say before we move on about Tyson,
he has something we're going to get into.
That's probably one place where we disagree. I think if he doesn't have the injuries, like if he comes in as a totally healthy guy, because that's the reason
you think he's the 8th pick in the draft then?
I think it's worthy. I think he's worthy of it. I don't think he's like insanely special. Like if special is defined as like should be one of those receivers that's picked in the top 5. I don't think he's like a top 5. There's a difference, even though it's 3 picks. I get it, but like if he was fully healthy and didn't have the history he has, that would have bumped him ahead of Tate for me. I like Tate as a pick better because he's safer and the margin between their abilities wasn't that great. Or I don't know, the injuries pushed Tate over the edge.
I agree with you. His ceiling's higher than Tate's.
Yeah. So I really liked what I saw out of him and like all the highlights but someone brought up a good point. Like if we only look at Jordyn Tyson's highlights, then it's going to be, wow, okay, that's impressive. But apparently, it's not going to be anything we've seen because we haven't watched every single play of his. His bad plays are not great. So,
I'm going to say this about him. So, my biggest issue with him is he's terrible after the catch. He is not good after the catch.
He had a couple of those crossing routes he took
not
to the house.
good after the catch. He runs out of bounds immediately. The biggest comp you keep hearing, and Brugler's made it, McShay's made it as well, is Stephon Diggs. And McShay went on about a 10-minute rant about it over the week or so before the draft, talking about Jordyn Tyson is going to be a polarizing pick because he is not for every team.
Right.
It's like some teams, look for the physical guy who's going to just defeat press coverage and is going to take a slant like a Michael Thomas type. Some are fine with the old school Los Angeles Rams or St. Louis Rams, I guess it was, greatest show on turf, where the guys will catch the ball and
hit the deck,
And it just depends.
What I'll say about our offense is it does suit that type of receiver.
It does. Yeah. So that's why he is more of a fit for the Saints. But at the same point, he is not this complete system-proof wide receiver that you can just drop into any system.
He's not system-proof.
He's not Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Like Jamar Chase is the most special talent at wide receiver that has come out in 5 or 6 years.
I wouldn't even begin to compare it. The only thing I would think is that he had a couple of highlight. It wasn't like the majority of them. I agree. He's not primarily a yak guy.
He's not good at yak.
There was a couple of plays where he had that little like shallow cross where the QB hits him at like 4
if there's
or 5
no
yards.
one there.
And that's what I'm saying. So it could have been a product of the offense, but that's what I'm saying. Like he's not system proof. He can't just do that against anybody. So I'm hoping that Kellen gets him in space, and because when he has space, he can take it. But that's not his main game. I agree with that.
And let me say something about
Olave, but he's not housing a short pass.
I don't even love the Diggs comparison. Diggs has no problem with press coverage. Zero problem.
Yeah.
Diggs played the one. It was this ball's coming to you on third down. Win your route.
And he win the route.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not what this guy is. This guy is going to be used ancillary, get him into space, let him work once he gets off the line.
To be fair, it did take Diggs a couple years to get going, though, when he got to the NFL.
How many years?
about 2 or 3 before he really uncorked it and started going 1,000 and 13, 14, 1,500 yards.
We'll see. I mean, the talent's. I think the talent's.
I thought he had like
there,
900 yards pretty quick.
But he's not right. He's not your. Typically, if you think we're taking receiver 8, he's a plug and play. He's not.
I have nothing against the guy whatsoever, other than the fact that I think this is overdrafted pretty heavily, and that there were options there that fit some of our needs with some really good players.
But I'll say this:
Diggs went 720 as a rookie, 903, 849, then 1,000. Then he went on.
But he wasn't the one either. Adam Thielen was like an all-pro.
Right, and Tyson's probably not going to be the one.
My last thought on him would be the positive spin is that if he does hit, if he is like plays to his full potential, plays to what we want, it totally changes our offense. So hopefully that's, we see the best case and not the worst case, which is like he's constantly injured.
Well, if he just plays, he drastically improves the offense because there was absolute garbage across from
it could be a really
once Shaheed was traded, right?
Once Shaheed, which was so
even
Shaheed didn't do much as a receiver last year, but that was when Rattler was playing.
He's got the chance to really make a statement this year.
Now, so this one texted me because obviously, and we'll get into it in more detail, but we'll skip ahead a little bit here and say that the Saints did draft 3 wide receivers.
Yeah, I was surprised by that.
They drafted 3, and they traded this year's 4th-round pick for Vele. So you have 4 receivers drafted essentially this season.
Kellen's trying to totally remake that room.
Well, the room's already remade, but is there more at play?
To me, it is the hope that they have the option to walk away from Olave next year. With the amount of capital that's been invested, you traded for Polk last year very inexpensively. If that doesn't pan out at all, totally fine. But you went and got a 2nd-round pick. It only cost you flipping a 6th and a 7th, I think. Great trade. Take a flyer, no problem. Trade for Vele with a 4th. Use your 1st-round pick on another receiver. Draft another tight end. Go in 4th-round pick for Lance. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you use the 6. Brown's probably a kick returner coming out, but in a flyer for your 5th spot.
But
maybe.
he also led the LSU in receptions last year.
Right. And this was what we got into because Max really loved the returner that ended up getting drafted by the Steelers in the 4th round. Max
was right. I give you credit for that.
He got drafted higher, but I would much prefer have Brown than that guy on the team, especially with a 6 versus a 4, just because I think he had a couple years, 500-plus yards at Kentucky, too.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had 2,000 career yards receiving. He can play in the receiving game.
Brown had 6 kickoff returns for touchdowns.
In the SEC.
in the SEC.
Right.
Yeah.
So
he didn't do much with punts. He didn't.
I don't think he returned them much.
It's a different skill.
It's a different skill, and that he and I were going back and forth about this. And let me be clear: I didn't want Weegen at 4. I was talking like if he's there in the 5th or 6th round.
We were saying UDFA based on the 400.
I told you he wasn't going to make it there. But my reasoning in liking him a little bit more than Brown is because his returns were mainly punts.
Yeah.
That's more valuable in today's NFL to me
do it more,
than kickoffs.
But
anyway, it doesn't matter. We didn't draft him. We have Brown. I'm excited about Brown. Amazing kick returner. Yeah, and can also moonlight.
He's making the team. It probably means we hold 6 receivers, right? But I think he makes the team because there's no big competition in the return in kick return.
There's none,
and you need 2 of them back there. And we signed Ty Chandler, and that's
Ty Chandler.
They talk about him. That was one of his fortes.
But does he make the team for sure?
Chandler?
It's not for sure, but it depends on how well he can.
You're gonna have to move some stuff around.
He'll make the team based on what they think of him as a kick returner, and then whether or not those skills of his are supplanted by a guy like Berrien. Can they roll without him? But I don't know what his contract looked like if they brought him in on one of those.
It's like 2
futures
years,
or like
$30 million, something like that. It's
league minimum. But one thing I'll say about Brown, I know we get into it, but he's got like the term they call long speed nowadays. Like that term keeps popping up more and more.
He has speed, period.
Well, it's speed, but he's a 100-meter champion in like high school. I don't know if he ran at LSU or not, but the guys that run the 100-meter in like 10.4, his second 40 is probably the number I'd want to see instead of the first.
Oh yeah, he pulls away. But hold on,
anyway.
Before we get too deep in the Brown, let's keep on
track. Yeah.
His scenario about Olave to me is very intriguing.
Yeah,
because look, that there's a large contingent of the fan base that is dead set on pay that man his money. We are not in that camp. And I think that's why his take is probably, to the people listening, is probably going to be controversial.
Yeah.
I'm going to reference Dan, who is referred to him as low-key the best Saints podcaster out there. I can tell you, Dan, for one, is absolutely not going to agree with that take.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think we've resigned.
But I do think it has to be talked about.
We've resigned ourselves to the fact that, like, if the team plans to pay him, we're at a certain threshold, we're fine with it. But yeah, I mean, I think what we've seen out of the Kellen Moore era, all year plus of it, is the ability to have options at certain positions or to really build quality depth, and that idea would fit. I think that idea would fit with wide receiver.
All that, I think all that's fine. But when we're talking about just this scenario, the problem is, if you remember when we were talking about the end of the season, I said him squeaking in as an All-Pro because of the injuries is the worst thing that could have happened to the Saints, because his price went up. It's not $30 million, guys. It's $40 million. And you have to make a decision if he's a $40 million player, and that's a tough decision for a guy who is good, really good, maybe.
It's almost like,
but not dominant.
Like they'd have been better at forcing. Well, it would have screwed up our cap situation for this year, but if they had forced the extension, like earlier,
they tried. They tried to get ahead of it. He said no. He was asking for more than they were offering. I think what did we see? It was 29 or something. 29 or 30 is the one thing.
Is going up.
Is agent smart to wait? I mean,
turns out he didn't get hurt. He didn't get hurt. He gets the league where a year like his ended, a 9-touchdown year ends up getting you an All-Pro nod, which is pretty rare. You're usually not getting it with those numbers. Especially with Colston had 5 of those years and never made a Pro Bowl, right?
And with the added game,
right?
Like you should, in theory, even have even more.
He had don't get me wrong, he had a really good year. It was not an All-Pro caliber year, and it just by the way the year fell with some of the injuries in the league, people going down, missing multiple games, his stats came in where it looks merited in the grouping. But in a normal year, he probably doesn't get it, but that price just went up. What's every agent going to do? He's an All-Pro.
And it's Rosenhaus, isn't it?
So, trust me, it's $40 million. I'd be shocked if it wasn't.
And he should ask for that, because that's what the market
I would
says.
too, and I don't blame him a bit.
I don't blame him at all.
The question is whether Kellen Moore thinks he's a $40 million player.
That is the big question, and that's why when he texted me that about 3 wide receivers, this might be a play to where, if you pick a wide receiver at 8, you're hoping that dude comes in as your number 1 by season number 2.
Yeah.
So if Tyson, Olave is going to play could possibly play this year on the 5th-year option. I'd let him play it, and I see how it shakes out after the year. That's my thought.
Don't be surprised to see a franchise tag to give it 2 years to see how these guys are developing, and a decision made down the road rather than giving a big contract.
The scenario is it's either you pay him, really pay him.
I'm not paying him ahead of time.
Not ahead of time, but under the scenario where...
Would you pay him?
Well, it depends on...
now, would you pay him?
Not right now, no. Okay. I mean, because, he had... This past year was good, but it was one solid season out of a 4-year sample size, right? So it's like, I would want to see one more... if you could stack another year like that, then okay, maybe you've shaken whatever kind of...
Because the argument, he didn't have a quarterback, right? He was one man out there getting hit, getting blown up because Carr was throwing him out, hanging him out to dry.
It's like, sure, okay, Chris.
Don't say hospital.
Chris / Drew. Yeah, it wasn't your fault. It wasn't Chris Olave's fault they didn't have a quarterback. It wasn't Chris Olave's fault that, name your excuse. The reality still is whoever's fault it was, we haven't seen it yet for more than the one season. We need to see it more. So you get Shough another year.
Injuries.
Hopefully, nothing, everybody stays healthy on offense for the most part, and you get another year with your quarterback, the one who you really did well under, and we'll see what happens. And at that point, the Saints can make a decision. But if the decision is to move on from him, you better have a solid number 2, because y'all just talked about the wide receiver room. So the wide receiver room sucked when it was just Olave and everybody else. So you move on from Olave, and then you got Jordyn Tyson theoretically and everybody else. You still have a shitty receiver room.
Not necessarily, because you got to develop Bryce Lance. You got to develop Barian Brown.
That's what I'm saying. One of those guys has to hit.
But that's why
that's
nothing happens with Olave until
next
year if they don't re-sign him. That's a big if. They'll probably re-sign him.
At this point, where we stand right now, it is a huge ask to ask any of the field, so to speak, to develop big enough or well enough to replace Olave.
They're not doing it this year. They're not. They're simply not.
But by the time the season ends, because that's when you really have to make a decision on paying him or not.
I think
You know,
paying
you
him is
could- to
going to
his point,
wait.
You can still franchise him and do
Yeah,
another
because you
year.
got two franchises. Now, obviously, if you try and franchise him a second time, he won't be
no,
here.
yeah.
So you've got probably the one franchise year when they can't work it out because, Drew Rosenhaus can be asking for $200 million. So, I think 100% it's all predicated on Tyson hitting and Lance or someone else showing like true number 2, number 3. Vele, if he becomes that, underneath Michael Thomas type of role on clearly a much lower scale, but if he kind of steps up from what he was doing, because he was playing well when when we sat him, he was playing pretty
He's
well.
due for a contract. He's eligible for a contract after this year.
See, if I'm them, if they like him, they should sign him right now because he'll be cheap.
I think you have to wait till after year 3.
For
I think
Bailey
that's the rule. Yeah,
on the rookie
yeah,
contract.
for the rookie drafted guys.
Then he's got 2 years left.
No, he's a mid-round pick, so he
was
has
his second year.
4 years. Last year was his second year. This is his third year. So after this year, you can resign.
You can resign him, but we have him under contract 2 more years, so that's
Correct.
not inevitable either.
Correct.
So,
But if he does anything, he's going to ask for a contract immediately in the offseason.
There's no way out. I mean, we need one of these guys to develop because there's no way around.
You need 2 of them to develop.
if they don't, they're signing
Olave.
Olave. You can count on it.
I'm saying
Absolutely,
you need one.
I'm just saying this is an attempt to give themselves the option,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Options, yeah.
You don't dedicate 4 draft picks and 1 draft to receiver if you're not trying to do something
because
more.
not our loyal listeners, not dogging on them, but maybe anybody who's listening to us for the first time or here's a clip. Like the attention spans are short out there. So we're not saying that this is Kellen giving up on Olave. We're
No,
not saying
not at all.
that this is
Not at all.
Kellen.
Not at all.
I'm just reinforcing that because it's like, no, he wants Olave to succeed. Of course, we all do. But it like you said,
hedging
it
his
gives
bet.
us the option. I don't really. Yeah, I mean, why not? Why not give yourself that out? You kind of have.
I'm just saying it's a pretty big capital outlay.
Yeah.
Which to me says, hey, just in case, hey, the concussion thing pops up this year, he kind of just stays stagnant where he's at. We find we nailed the 8th pick and they were right and everything I'm saying is completely wrong and he becomes a star in year 2.
Look, I mean,
Great.
Nowhere is Shough ever going to have, we're not going to tell anyone to beat Drew Brees again. But there's a certain kind of quarterback, if he's at a certain quality level, we've seen it, where, your receiver room suddenly is bumped up a little bit because of who your quarterback is. So that's, these guys could maybe, they would have to develop through the roof if you've got a guy like Rattler as your QB or someone totally raw. But with Shough, if he keeps playing the way if he keeps improving, then maybe the development they have to go through isn't quite as big of a pull. And then you can make that assessment. Like, okay, he elevated Bell, the guy that caught the thing in the Falcons
Ronnie
game.
Bell,
Like,
yeah.
Ronnie Bell. But so maybe like
And you
Palmer,
shouldn't
Polk,
because
like,
you're going to have to, if he's that type of dude, he deserves the hundreds of millions of dollars and he will elevate the receivers.
Yeah.
We talked about it in depth a couple episodes ago of why do you draft receiver in the first round? Because of the cost of re-signing a receiver.
Yep.
So for me, let's look at all the contracts that were below the guys we were just talking about, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb. Look at the guys just below that and those guys that those teams did pay, Christian Kirks and the Debo Samuels, Brandon Ayuk.
Jaden Reed just got paid.
Jaden Reed, well, it
Not a
wasn't,
crazy
it wasn't
amount,
that
but
huge.
yeah.
No, it's like the draft at certain positions has become the NFL's version of the pay later option online.
Yeah. If
it's
you don't
like,
think Olave is
like-
a out-and-out superstar
Yeah.
receiver, you're risking a lot paying him that money.
It's like the product is wide receiver 1. Would you like to pay for this now or pay in 4? It's like you draft a guy, okay, wide receiver 1, we got him, or 2. We're paying in installments.
Now you get a
We're
Jamar
paying
Chase,
a low
different
price
story.
over 4 years.
This is why I love
you
the
know.
strategy of triple dipping in this draft over the weekend.
Yeah.
Triple dip at receiver because that position is impossible to sign in free agency.
It's like the one out of all the
too
positions
expensive.
that
Without going broke.
It's too
out of every
expensive.
position that looked great last year and improved. It's like that meme of the 4 dragons and there's one googly crazy looking one. Like it's the sick stupid looking dragon out of the group.
Yeah.
And look, the franchise tag is going to be super expensive, but for 1 year, while we
We might not even have to. I mean, we'll see.
you're probably going to have to get through that second year of Tyson, but we'll see.
But I agree. If any of these guys like raise their floor, then it's certainly an option. It's a good.
Yeah.
I just think he's trying to give him some options there because of how
He's hedging
expensive
his
that's
bet.
going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an expensive thing
Can't
to
disagree
pay.
with that.
Yeah. Well, and I think he's also saying, you know what? if we do hit on 2 of these guys out of the 3,
Right.
you just really,
Oh my God, yeah.
Trade him, get whatever you can
Yeah.
back, and draft another one with that pick if you want.
I would pick a wide receiver, at least one wide receiver every year. I'm not saying in the first round. I'm saying somewhere in the draft, I'm picking a wide receiver every year.
That's one thing I like about having an offensive coach. I mean, I didn't like having DA, period. I don't care what side of the ball he was on. But it's nice going back to an offensive coach and one that, his offensive picks last year were pretty good.
Yes.
I mean, Caleb Banks especially, Neal was serviceable. But, like, you got a guy who's the winningest college quarterback of all time.
Banks.
And what'd I say?
Caleb.
Yeah, Caleb's the guy we did not draft. But I like, I trust him at this point.
Yeah. He hasn't given us any reason to not trust him yet. So, yeah.
Any future drafts, he's like, I like the wide receiver. Like, great.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the second round pick. We'll go ahead and let you start again since this is another one of your.
Wait, why am I starting? What was the big deal about the second round pick?
Well, defensive tackle, just like
From the Dogs!
There you go. Yeah.
Base
You almost had him on your list too.
I did. Yeah.
You had him, and he said,
I was gonna.
You know what?
Well, no, I only. So, okay,
said, put
Max,
McDonald.
the little behind the scenes look for all y'all, our wonderful graphic that our graphic artist in chief has put out, Max, that lays out a little caricature of our faces and then 3 that we want to see from each day. Max would text us before each round, and I replied right away, of course, to every text he sent. But the first round, I was like, here's who I think will be there. But he said, no, give me who you want. And I was like, okay, well, then I'll go with guys that are higher. So in the second round, my first text to you was was McCoy, because he was still there, Christian Miller, and Halsey.
Kristen.
Huh?
Kristen. Jesus Christ. You
I've been
played
saying
for your
Christian.
team. Yeah, it's
I've been
nice.
saying it for 4 years.
All right, well.
Kristen. Okay, there you go. I've been
Look
saying
at
it the
this.
same way before.
Die-hard Dogs fan right here.
I'm not the only Georgia guy saying Christian, promise you. But anyway, so I said that first, and then I was like, oh, wait, we're supposed to say who we want, even if he might not be there. So I said Cade McDonald instead of Miller.
Well, the
But
reason I said to go with that approach is because we could always trade up.
yeah, exactly. So I had said even pre-draft, I've been big on us filling the DT need through this draft because there was a lot of guys and the only tough thing there was kind of contradictory too, is that like my preferred strategy was not to go wide receiver at number 8, to go with Caleb Downs or somebody or Mansour Delane and then take one of the second round receivers. But the defensive tackles in the second round were so good, and I think the kind that Staley could really make some hay with, that it was tough to turn them down too. But once we went with Tyson, I'm like, all right, I want a defensive tackle at the second pick. And look, I watched Christian Miller for 4 years, so he's 6'3" and change, 321, so the size is there. But what's funny is that when I watched him on Saturdays, it's like he doesn't look like that huge space eater nose that you're used to. Like he doesn't have the
He's
big
lean.
Yeah, he doesn't have the big gut. He doesn't just seem like he just keeps people in place by standing there. Even though he does eat up double teams, he can. It's part of his game. But what I like about him, and one of the things that I liked about him, even when I was cheering for him as part of my college team, was that he can move around on the line. Like he was one of these guys where he didn't play every single down of every game, of course, because he's 320 pounds. But when he wasn't on the field, it showed. If third down and somebody wanted to run a Pete Carmichael draw on third and long and he's not in the game, it usually hit because they could kind of move the other guys around more. But when you had Miller in there, especially first downs, he's just one of those dudes you just kind of expect to see him in the backfield more often than not on first and second downs. And saying that on an SEC level, I think is a big deal. The other thing I like about him, versus if I'm going to distinguish him from Delp, I mean, they both played under Kirby Smart, but Christian Miller got to be part of a Kirby Smart defense, and he's not a transfer guy. We talked about like Zach Branch from Other Dogs. He came in from USC. Both Miller and Delp are 100% Kirby Smart guys. They high school, Georgia, graduated, now they're here. Christian Miller got his degree, got it like that. He was a leader on the team. He considered coming out of the draft last year, decided to stay put, did well for himself there. He's just a damn good player, and I think he's got some mean streak in him. But you can move him. You don't have to play him only at nose.
He didn't look too mean in that TikTok video Nick sent me.
He's mean on the field.
Got a chick name, and he had a TikTok
He's got personality, dude.
He does have personality. I love listening to his interview.
He's a high energy.
Nightmares of Cesar Ruiz right after.
He's a high energy guy. I mean, like, dude, if TikTok was around when, like, if Cam Jordan was graduating out of cut, he's rolling out
That's a
TikToks,
fair point.
You know,
that is a fair point.
So he's got a
But
little.
the list might end there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say this. So, look, I didn't know as much about him. Obviously you had talked about him, but look, the more I read about him and just listening to his interview, man, he's, full of energy, like you said. Great personality. Very versatile as a defensive tackle.
Yeah.
Although he is not a pass rusher at all.
You can't expect him to.
We should not expect to get, more than a sack or two.
He's perfect for, like, if they're running a stunt with Brzee, and he could help Brzee out
He's
a lot.
Perfect pairing with
Because
Brzee.
if the stunt is like he goes to the left and Brzee wraps around him, he's the perfect guy to be the pawn for Brzee to get some space.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because just like we talked about with the first round pick, Tyson being a good complement to Olave, it seems like Miller and Brzee are going to be really good complements
And
to each other.
you heard Miller in his interview talking about how he's been following Brzee since high school.
Yeah, that was cool. No, look, his interview was awesome. Like I was bought in after listening to him talk, and you and I were in agreement that we needed a defensive tackle. I think we both had Caden McDonald down just because he was the higher rated one, should have been a first round pick.
Yeah.
But that being said, Miller was the third ranked defensive tackle in this draft, going off of Brugler's list. So
Banks
that's
too.
I'll
Something
check
like that.
it
But either way, he's
Yeah.
and he should be. I think he's the Eagles were right to draft, and even the Packers when they got
No,
Devontae
Peter Woods
Wyatt.
second, and Peter Woods did go second.
Yeah.
So
Georgia
That
has
makes sense.
There's certain
he was
positions
top
out of Georgia
five for the year.
that they put out pretty consistently, and defensive line's one of them. Not talking edge, but specifically interior defensive linemen. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt. The list goes on and on.
I trust Georgia defensive tackles.
Yeah.
Not to drive anywhere, but I trust them.
I think he's one of the few that don't have any driving offenses in Athens.
But if he was like the one,
Delp.
hopefully him and Delp were the only two.
There are two of them.
I'm going to tell you, the streets just got a whole lot more dangerous in this city.
He's probably breathing a sigh of relief because, the New Orleans streets, can't catch them all. It's like Pokemon.
I don't mind taking tackle here after we took the receiver because you have to pivot at that point. The only player I think that was on the board and he was on my list that I would have wanted more was Zion Young, only because I think he is like a perfect fit for the 3-4. I think 5 technique, he could do that. He's a really good player too, and a pass rusher. And I always lean on pass rush if I have to choose because, if you look at nearly every Super Bowl champ, they rush the passer.
Look, your
very
manifesto last episode said it perfectly. Your spoken manifesto, whatever you want to call it. But you're right. All the winning teams have that just blazing fast guy off the edge.
Yeah. So I don't dislike the pick at all. I think, of course, I don't watch DT. I saw plenty of Georgia games. I know he's in the rotation because they're so fucking talented. They rotate 8 or 9 on that line. So he probably only plays, 40% of the 50% of the snaps at most in that scheme. But by all accounts, super talented, versatile, can move up and down the line on the inside. So,
4-star recruit.
So we'll see. I definitely don't have a problem with picking a defensive tackle.
And then fun fact is, I didn't even know this until we picked him, but this is the second time he's playing for a team named the Saints.
Yeah, high school team.
His high school team, the Saints. But yeah, to your point, that is true about the Georgia defenses. They rotate heavy.
Yeah, they do.
And so you look up his write-up. The Saints put up started all 14 games last year, which is great. But he probably played in his snap count.
Yeah, because they're so good.
Because of everybody else. Now, he did have to step up earlier than expected because we did have a 5-star recruit at D-line, Bear Alexander, who transferred to USC. And so he was kind of slated to be one of those guys to follow, and Jordan Davis, the Jalen Carter route, and Christian Miller had to step in. And so we were a little bit wary when he came in because we're all expecting Bear. And then Miller showed up, and we didn't miss a beat, and it was awesome. So
just call him Miller because you keep saying Christian.
Kristen. I feel like I got to throw
Call him Chris.
There you go, Chris.
CM.
CM. There you go. All
so
right,
I think we're all in agreement. That one's not bad. Third round,
Oscar Delp. Another
one. Gotta love it. ecstatic.
Traffic court is going to be busy this year.
I thought we had an aversion to drafting Georgia players, which I would not have blamed us for doing so because the Jonathan Sullivan thing was awful. We drafted a cornerback.
Charles Grant.
But Sullivan was after Grant. So,
yeah.
I get it. But I was just ecstatic we got Kristen Miller, CM, and wasn't, third round. I wasn't really thinking if we were going to go with tight end, it would be in the third. And then saw Delp's name get called, and I was really happy. I mean, is there an argument to be made that maybe he could have was more suited for later in the third or fourth?
Yes.
But selfishly, I love the pick. But he's another guy where it's like, is he higher than we would have preferred to have drafted him? Sure. Not going to be mad at anybody for having that argument. But when you put him into our offense, he's another guy that actually makes an impact on what we can do on offense. He has the ability, again, he's another, he's not a 4-year starter, but multi-year starter at Georgia. Didn't transfer, stayed at Georgia the whole time. He's from Georgia originally, same as CM. And he was the guy next up after Bauer. So he played with one of the best college tight ends of all time. So he's playing in a program, Kirby Smart's program that prepares you for the pros. He was the understudy to one of the best college tight ends we've seen in a long time. He's got the size, he's got the speed, not the Bauer speed, or at least on tape anyway. But and he's not Bauer's. Let's put that out there for sure. He's not Bauer. I'm not saying that. But he's 6'4", 7/8", right? So he's basically 6'5", 245, 4'4", 9 speed. He's different than the other two tight ends we have in the room. And one thing he developed really well is his blocking. I mean, like when he blocks, he doesn't look like he's going through the motions like some tight ends do. He actually looks like he's trying to put people in the dirt. And he said he really kind of started to embrace it this year, started to love it. And he had some key blocks on a lot of key plays this year. I get the stats. When you look at his stats, you're like, well, wait, what?
Or his stats suck.
You look at his stats, and you're like, did this guy really do anything in college? But you watch him play. He's a football guy. So I like the pick.
I'll be honest with you. I watch a lot of Georgia games, but I did not watch them with the attention to detail that you do.
Yeah.
So I didn't really notice his blocking. So I wasn't aware that he is as good of a blocker as he apparently is.
Yeah.
Everyone, in all the write-ups you see is that he is a strong blocker and he puts effort into it.
He actually uses his athleticism to his advantage in blocking. So he will outrun the guy he's blocking to set the edge, and then he'll use his size, speed, and strength to really run that guy back. He showed a lot of coordination in his blocking, in my opinion. But he too, kind of like Tyson. If you can get him the ball in space, he can get you some yak.
Yeah,
he can.
Well, Tyson can't get you yak. Delp, I think, can, because I have seen plays where Delp has caught the ball, and then you see him. He takes off. He's got speed.
He's got impressive burst for a tight end.
He definitely has speed.
He has speed.
He
has yak.
I put this in the same boat as I put the Tyson pick.
Yeah, I can see that.
You're going for potential. The production wasn't there in the past game. Was it a little too early for me for him? Yeah.
Apparently, we were trying to trade up for him. That's rumor. They're saying.
Wow. He was another breadcrumb guy, I think, to a degree. Not as much as Tyson, but you started hearing that we liked him, and then we did a visit with him and attended the pro day, all that stuff.
I remember the visit. And that's why we talked about him previously, because we saw the visit. I just think. Again, I think there was other stuff on the board I probably would have preferred. Do I understand the pick? Sure. I get it. His workouts were awesome. 4.49 for a tight end, that's a big-ass guy. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You saw some of those moments in the highlights, even though he didn't have a whole lot of receiving, stuff to hang his hat on. He just wasn't a factor in the past game last year, really. It was a few hundred yards. That's it.
Yeah, nobody was really a factor. Besides Jack Branch.
We'll see. I just hope they're right. I don't mind adding another weapon. That's the part we barely mentioned, is that it's 4 picks plus a tight end pick. That's 5 weapons they drafted in one draft.
Love it.
Pass catcher weapons, too.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot going into focus on that. That's where they feel their only deficiency is. We're going to find out.
Yeah.
So I think they left some more defensive players on the board than offensive there.
Yeah.
I can't say there was someone on offense I desperately wanted over him in that spot.
Sure.
When I was looking at what was available.
Well, it goes back to the argument Max and I make a lot. If you, again, it's third round, this type of guy, it is a bit of a bet on potential. But if he hits in the potential range and isn't a disappointment, then all of a sudden you've got what Max and I like to refer to as a football cheat code. A tight end like him at his potential could be a bit of a joker. You can move.
You got three tight ends that can run.
You can line them
all
up.
three of them can run.
Yeah.
We have our complaints about Jawan, but he can run. Fant can run. And so there's certain, personnel, I know he was talking about 13 personnel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to run a ton of that, but I bet you there's a whole lot of two tight end.
Yeah.
There was a really good Underhill article breaking down the impact that Delp can have on the offense. Yeah. And in there were some just eye-opening stats from the 12 personnel.
Well, the key...
And it was embarrassing how bad...
From 12, not 13.
From the 12,
okay.
But then also talking about the impact 13 can have, and it was referencing the Rams.
Yeah.
Because the
Well,
Rams
I told
run
you.
it more than anybody.
The Rams had the Devontae injury.
20
and then,
touchdown passes out of that.
Well, they
insane.
had three
receivers.
receivers.
The impact he can have. So he still has to do it.
Right.
But the one thing I will touch on, because I know, like everyone's going to be looking at the stats, I will reassure everybody. While I disagree with Max about the quality of Gunnar Stockton, there were a lot of
he's
throws.
Trash.
I don't think he's trash. I'm not saying
trash.
I'm not saying he's Arch Manning or that he should be the best.
If you say he's Arch Manning, you're off the pot.
Well, I just said he's not. But
well, don't even bring that into it.
I'm letting you know that I'm not saying that. So I'm trying to calm you down a little bit. But Gunnar is serviceable as a Georgia quarterback, but there was a lot of throws, even if you watch like the highlight cut up, where if Gunnar had put the ball in a different spot, like Delp's gone, and he's got like 70-yard catches. There was one where no one was around him, and he's running like the post corner, and instead of leading him, Gunnar put it on his back shoulder, and Delp had to fall down, but it's still like a 40-yard gain, So there was that component, and then our offensive coordinator at Georgia, Mike Bobo, was just like the bane of every Georgia fan's existence this year. Even though we put up points and made it to the playoffs and all that stuff, he was so like god awfully conservative. I'm saying like that's
it's
why
over now, thank God.
But that's why his stats were not great. Like
maybe we're gonna find out, right? We're gonna
Delp didn't miss the opportunities. He wasn't given the opportunities. So hopefully he's given the opportunities with Kellen Moore.
I'm gonna go ahead and say I think Delp does have a better chance of being a better pro than college player, specifically because of the offense that you just talked about at Georgia, and that quarterback is absolute shit.
Yeah, thanks for stopping me because I almost went on like a Nick-style Loomis tangent, but for Bobo.
So let's move on to the next pick was Jeremiah Wright, offensive guard out of Auburn. Another player that the Saints had brought in for a visit. This guy was ranked as the 17th guard in the draft based on Brugler's guide. Older player, looks like he
25.
24 right now. He's going to be 25 when the season starts.
It's okay. He fits into the category we called it before, big-ass guard.
Yeah, for guard, 25 doesn't matter. That's still a 10-year career if he's legit.
6'4", 330 or something like that.
Again, overdrafted versus the consensus.
6'5", 330.
If you believe in the consensus, obviously it's never right. So just pointing it out that, generally you saw he was, I think, a fifth or later in most of them.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter.
I don't mind
If they see something, again, I'm not going to pretend I watched this guy play football at all.
Never watched him play it down.
Same.
Guard, I think we all agreed we needed another player for guard. Hopefully we find a Ruiz replacement, whether it's immediate or next year. So completely makes sense in the fourth round.
Hopefully he can beat him out sometime this year.
I like taking the dart throw. He's drafted higher than the next guy up. We hoped at some point with Simpkins. Now you got a guy who's like coming from an SEC program.
Well, Simpkins wasn't drafted.
Wasn't even drafted.
But look back at the history we've had with guards in the middle round. You got Carl Nix, you got Jari Evans.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Yeah.
I'm just going to look at the strengths that are listed in his bio. Some of the things that stand out. Mean dude, isn't shy about working through the whistle. Love that. Let's see. And then beloved in the program, earned high character marks. One of the staff's favorite, awesome worker. That's all I need to see.
Yeah.
Just awesome worker, big guy, strong, powerful run blocker.
Get in there and work. Yeah.
Get him in and work. So let's see. With the next pick, this one was, I was kind of I think I was making a cocktail at this point. And it said Bryce Lance. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
There we go.
We talked about him.
That's another receiver right here,
6'3".
I had been talking about in the Discord Because I was saying, because Chris Bell at this point, he had been falling like a rock. You know, we thought maybe he would be our second round pick. It was probably the most mocked.
He went in the third, though, right?
No, he went in the fourth.
He went that far? Wow.
Yeah. I thought he was picking the third.
Maybe I'll double check. Either way,
you're probably right.
And then I had put in the Discord that I would absolutely double dip a receiver.
Yeah.
Like I was adamant about it. I said I want Bell, but I still want another receiver because I hate the receiver room. And then they went and obviously felt the same way and got me Bryce Lance. Bryce Lance, I'll start off with this one. Right now, he's a one-trick pony. Obviously, coming from a smaller school, North Dakota State, he's running past everybody.
Correct.
You know, he has just a couple of routes in his tree. He's, from everything I've read, he's not much at all for the short routes or the intermediate routes. This is a deep route guy.
Yeah.
Think like an Alec Pierce who just got paid $40 million. Like, that, to me, is Bryce Lance's ceiling.
All I really watched was the highlight reels the Saints were pumping out, and I'm like, waiting to see one that is less than 30 yards?
Yeah.
It's like
well, the biggest thing with him is, he ran the 4.34.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This is
To
the
me, it's the 10-yard split.
at his size, too.
6'3", 204 at the combine.
Yeah.
4.3, 440, 149 10-yard split. That is instant acceleration.
If he can get with Keith Williams and learn the route tree, then you might be cooking with gas at that point.
41.5-inch vertical, 11.1 broad jump, which speaks to the explosiveness. That is fucking fast.
Yeah.
yes, but that's not football.
It's not football. And here's the thing, though. I do not expect much out of him at all.
It is something
year.
we needed. We were trying to get Tipton to fill that role.
Yeah, redshirt him.
This is a much better Tipton.
Yes.
Right? So we need someone to stretch it. For some reason, Olave is very fast. I think he ran the same time, didn't he?
4.39.
4.39. So, but it doesn't translate into that straight, deep speed.
Yeah.
Right?
This is fucking
it's a different thing. So, like, this is the guy to take the top off. This is the Shaheed replacement to me. So I really like the pick. When you text about our 3, he was on the 3 I was going to send you before I said I give up. So he was on there. So that makes all the sense in the world. 4th round. I think he was projected higher than that. 3rd, was he projected?
Yeah, he did.
So now I don't think he should have been taken in the 3rd because of what you said. He is kind of a straight line receiver.
Yeah.
But that's a void that was on the offense, just stretching the defense once we traded Shaheed.
The term steal of the draft was coming in. Yeah, I'm not going to be that hyperbolic, but when people just say, like, credible people are saying, oh, that's a steal, great.
Yeah. Look, his brother tricked a lot of people, but I hope I hope he's not tricking me, but I think there's a role for him sooner than not even redshirt him. Like, I think there's a role very quickly.
There's a role, but I wouldn't expect much of it.
No, this is a 20-something catch guy
down the field. Yeah. You know what it's going to be? It could be this year is Joe Morgan.
Yeah.
Remember when Joe Morgan had like 13 catches and it was like 280 yards or something?
But we don't have that guy, in my opinion. So it makes sense.
He has a chance to be a preseason darling.
He really does, because he is going to run past some future Amazon people.
He's going to be crazy in preseason, and then week 1's going to come around like, why are we giving more to Bryce Lance? What's going on?
Exactly.
I'll say this, though, to what you just said about, we hope he isn't fool's gold like his brother was. There's a hell of a difference between being a 4th-round pick and being fool's gold.
Third pick
and being
or whatever.
a third
Second,
pick where they traded up to get him all
of
that
course.
capital. So, to me, I'm probably the most excited about this pick and honestly the Oscar Delp.
He's like the closest thing. I'm just thinking about this now, like for the NFL, like the NBA's got a G League, right? Where it's like if the NFL had a G League, he'd be perfect for that.
Yeah.
He would light it up.
Yeah, send him down there.
This is the point in the draft I was getting a little discouraged though, because we were 4 offense and 1 defense.
So you say that, and you said it would. What did you?
He wanted more defense.
What did you want to see? Was there anybody?
Corner. I really wanted a corner and an edge, and we hadn't done anything yet. Now this is where I was texting him. I'm like, the defense was the best. You alluded to it earlier. The defense was the strong part of the team last year. Even when Shough came in, the defense was the thing that was performing. The defense lost 3 starters or 3 heavy contributors. Yeah. And we did sign Caden, so we got 1 back, but we've kind of just been.
You didn't get all the way back.
Right.
Like,
and it was a strong unit. So
Yeah.
I that's the one thing that worries me. We don't want to see our defense step back by not putting any of this capital into there. And there were guys there.
Yeah. And
that's my only problem.
Don't get complacent.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the players were there where you could make a case that the defensive guy probably was a more merited the position where we were drafting more than who we drafted. But then we started moving a little bit.
Yeah.
We come back this round, we do something, but we'll talk about the trades. We trade with the Raiders.
Yeah.
Bring in a defensive end, obviously underachieved so far in his career.
Seventh pick in the draft.
Seventh pick in the draft, right. And been, 5 sacks, I think is his 4 or 5 sacks has been his cap, playing opposite Max Crosby, which you think would free you up a little bit.
Yeah.
Hasn't really lived up to that pick, but a talented guy for sure.
And look, he wouldn't be the first guy that went to the Raiders and just turned out the Raiders weren't the fit.
Of course.
And the coaching carousel and all that stuff. Plus, I was coincidentally listening. He did a live interview on WWL on my way over here. I was like, oh, that's perfect. Because I hadn't really read up about him a lot. But, turns out he's
talking about Chase Young when he
Bobby mentioned something about Chase Young, and then every now and then Bobby says something that's actually kind of accurate. He's like, I mean, how he could be a poor man's Chase Young. And I'm like, you never
know.
But the thing about the guy's real soft spoken, and he's not one of these rah guys or politician speak type of players. Not a lot of coach speak, but he's born in Alaska, and then moved to Texas later. And Bobby's like, "What you doing in Alaska, though?" And so his parents are military, and so he's like a military kid. And it's like my parents live in Tyler. I grew up in some small town in Texas. Like I'm just a country kid. So maybe look, country kid goes to A&M.
Great trade in my opinion.
Goes
perfect trade.
Goes to Texas Tech. Maybe it was just a bad fit in Vegas.
So this was a throwback to me to the 2006 draft, where you saw a lot of this maneuvering backwards and picking up veteran players.
Yeah.
The Saints picked up a couple players that year just by moving back. So I love that they did.
I think Mickey claimed that what he did was a trade back. But then Ross, I watched Ross's recap episode. Ross was like, now Mickey says he traded back because he says he never trades back, and he's trying to get some credit out of the media guys for that. He goes, I do not think this is a trade back because technically, I forget the explanation for it, but it's like you traded your pick for a player, and then in exchange,
but you picked up another pick. You trade back.
You just got to pick as compensation. It wasn't like just a pure trade back.
Yeah,
that's semantics.
I think that's so.
Kudos to Mickey on that.
I was kind of going back and forth with Max during this that I didn't like how the draft was going, not the players specifically, but just how they viewed the team. And I said they obviously view a lot of things differently than I did, which hey, that doesn't mean anything.
Not allowed.
They shouldn't worry about me.
Not allowed.
But I was a little worried. I said, look, I just don't know how you get out of this offseason without addressing corner, edge, and potentially linebacker. At least give you another option at those 3 just because of what you lost on defense, and it was such a strong unit, especially in the last 12 games. It was a dominant unit.
Yeah.
So that trade made me feel better. Then we take this pick next, and then after the draft, we go make another trade, and we get a great run-stopping edge. He's not a pass rusher.
Jennings.
Yeah,
that wasn't a trade. That was just a signing.
Sorry,
Alabama guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
he's a good player.
So they answered everything. So I told Max, just to finish this story, if we sign a corner before the season, especially one of these higher profile ones, I understand everything. Yeah. It all makes sense. I love it. I think we need a corner.
And you see,
I agree with you, and I think that corner is gonna. I think it's imminent. I think they're just waiting until after June 1st, and you're going to see someone, 1 or 2 even, get signed.
And I used to think I was joking about them airline listening to our podcast.
Oh yeah.
Clearly they're picking up some wisdom from us.
Well, I'll say one more thing about Tyree Wilson. So 6'6", 263 pounds, only 25 years old.
Great fucking
same
size.
Blueprint as Chase Young. He's underperformed a little bit more than Chase Young did. Chase Young did win Defensive Rookie of the Year. But it's a flyer.
Yeah.
It's well worth the risk. It's no different than the risk that we took for Jalen Polk last year, where you just flip-flopped a 6 and a 7.
What you got for what we gave up is an awesome trade.
Well worth it.
And this guy can play this year. He's not injured. And,
exactly.
And I do like that Mickey committed to where he was just like, no, we're not picking up his option or anything. It's
smart.
He's just going to play.
Yeah. It's a far cry from the gum-smacking, coked-out Mickey we got 2 years ago.
More and more convinced that that man was going through some shit during that.
It's called having DA as your head coach.
He was just mad that everybody didn't like DA. That's really what he was mad at.
No, he was like,
He stuck up for him to the death.
Yeah, he did.
For some reason, he absolutely
did.
loved him.
It
All right.
took a lot out of him.
Let's move on to the 5th round pick. This is another one. So
He was on my list too that I was going to send you.
You and I had texted about him a month ago after the combine.
Who's that?
Lorenzo Styles Jr., because he is the older brother of Sonny Styles.
Yep.
And he blew up the combine.
He ran one of the fastest 40s.
Well,
Second fastest.
the craziest thing about it is apparently
Like a
he was coming off of an injury. And
At the combine?
Yeah, at the combine, where he wasn't able to run with his normal form.
He's
He says he's faster than that.
He's going to run a 4.1 something? I mean, he ran a 4.28, right?
Yeah. So he says he's faster than that, which
He's another guy where, look, I mean, obviously love the speed. And if everyone was hyping up Sonny Styles' character and how much of a pro-ready type of person he is, well, then, okay, you got his older brother. So character's there. He's played a lot at Ohio State. I think he's got the ability to be one of these like Staley guys where Staley can really put him where he wants him. Play outside,
Star.
play.
Yeah, this is a
like
star player for me.
And his size, 6 foot 200.
6 foot 194. So actually 6 foot 200 at the pro day.
Yeah.
But hold on, let's go back to the numbers a little bit. 427.
427.
He says he can go faster if he's able. I was reading about it today that he wasn't able to get the arm.
Plenty fast enough. Doesn't matter.
He's got the speed.
39 vert.
Yeah.
149 10-yard split. Again, like Bryce, that is insane speed.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, when you're in the top 8, when you're in the second round, I agree with the people that are like, don't look only at the RAS, don't look only at the athleticism, see who's like the best proven player and whatever. But when you're getting to this area, you can lean a little bit more into the athleticism. You can lean a little more into the RAS. And he's coming from a huge program. He won a national championship. His brothers all went, and his dad's a former player, right?
Former NFL.
He didn't play a ton at defense.
He didn't.
though.
Now, here's the thing that we need to acknowledge. He got to college, Notre Dame,
Yeah,
as a wide receiver.
Yeah.
So as a freshman, 24 for 344, touchdown. Sophomore, 30 for 340, touchdown. Redshirted, transferred to Ohio State, corner/safety at Ohio State. Had a 100-yard kick return for a touchdown last year, so he can return kicks.
Yeah.
Never had a pick.
Never had a pick. He's a work in progress at corner or safety, wherever we end up slotting him. But to me, this is your next JT Gray.
Yeah.
He is going to be a special team. At the very least, this kid is going to be a special teams demon.
Yeah.
This is who they picked over Perkins to me. This
Yes.
is who he's targeting
Yes.
for that spot
Yeah.
because he has some corner experience. He's fast as hell.
It can be molded.
Yeah.
Can be molded, yes.
I think they're going to use that athleticism to get him in
I
spots to make
also
plays.
really like guys, I mean, specifically for him in this case, but I like guys that have experience on the other side of the ball that make the switch.
Yes.
Because, you can't know. He has all this knowledge about receiver route trees that DBs that never played receiver, or they might know it because they study, but he knows it because he did it. And that's huge. I mean, especially at a big program. It wasn't like he did Division III receiver, then transferred to Ohio State, became a DB. I mean, he was Notre Dame receiver.
Notre Dame, Ohio State's pretty
production,
good. Pretty good pedigree.
Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's going to be a fun one to watch because I really do think like gunner and special teams. If he could just pick up the defense,
Right.
this
That's the
one
thing.
could be
Like,
a really fun pick.
Being coachable, we talk about pros, and these guys are, a different breed, the Gen Zers that are now NFL guys, and, they don't really like to be coached up anymore. But it doesn't mean that there aren't guys who can take coaching well, and that taking coaching isn't important. It is extremely important. You get a guy like Staley, who's got a very unique type of defense, one that clearly helped for our team last year. If he can take coaching, then the sky's the limit for him. Stay healthy, take coaching, I think.
And look, it's another step towards shoring up special teams. So
Yeah.
we signed a punter this year. That's a massive improvement over what we had last year.
A legitimate punter.
And you got a hell of a lot more speed
Yeah.
now. So speaking of speed, let's move on to the next pick, which is LSU wide receiver, kick returner extraordinaire, Barian Brown.
Yep.
I'll start off just with the size on him. 5'11", 177, so slight frame. The weirdest thing to me is we have all watched him play. We know he is fast as hell.
40
You
time.
talked about it earlier. His 40 time, 4.4, which is when I was pushing back on you guys the other day when y'all were talking about Weegan. Oh, he only runs a 4.47. Brown only ran a 4.4, which is wild to me. Because I know he's faster than that.
But it was a
He's
high-
way faster
It
than
was
The
a high,
10-yard split, 1.58.
but it's
which
high
is
4.4s, right?
4.4.
4.40.
4.40.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's faster
that's
than
what
that.
I say. I
faster
think
than that,
He's
absolutely.
he's track fast. Even the kick returns he had when you watch the way he runs like a track guy. Like when he gets in the open field, it's like upright. It's a sprinter kind of stride. It's to me very distinguishable from the guys who aren't track. So he runs a 100-meter. He won.
Well, that's
state
why he's a
champion-
better kick returner than a punt
Right,
returner.
so he's
he's
got
a straight line. Give him a
the
crease and
straight
he's
line
gone.
speed. So his initial burst is not the same as a guy like Xavier Thomas or Weegan or those really quick.
Right, Weegan is
scatty
initial
guys.
acceleration. This guy's long speed.
But he can pull away. So. But
he also produced in the pass game at 2 SEC schools. Wasn't dominant or anything, but I think he had 500 yards a couple times or right thereabouts. Once at Kentucky, and I think at LSU last year he had over 400 yards. You have that?
the fact that he even came down
What'd
with
he have?
53
He had
receptions.
628 his freshman year, 539, 361, and 530.
Yeah, so consistently involved. And
Only one touchdown last year.
With the LSU quarterback situation last year,
Was pretty rough.
The fact that he got 53 receptions is actually kind of impressive.
Yeah.
Like anybody did.
What I like is that freshman year, 1 kickoff return for touchdown. Sophomore year, 3 kick returns for touchdown.
Kentucky.
Junior,
Yeah.
1 kick return for a touchdown. Senior, 1 kick for a touchdown.
Yeah.
So consistently every single year, this kid will be up for Pro Bowl.
6 career
All-Pro
kickoff
nods for
returns
kickoff return.
is something. That's
yeah,
all.
in that conference, it's really something.
Yeah, the only thing, I guess my only gripe as far as projecting him to wide receiver, he's a very slight framed guy.
take a lot of work. Like if we think that Bryce Lance is going to take work, he's going to take even more.
He needs to.
Yeah.
Bryce Lance at least weighs 204 pounds.
Which is funny because like we were
He's
relying on a guy
not-
with this frame. Like Tipton can't be much bigger, right?
Right. He's not going to be your ever one of your primary receivers.
No, he's
but
not. He's
you
your
put him
4 or
in.
5 at
He's your
best.
wide receiver screen guy. If you can get the seal block and let him run straight,
Comes in
you
for a
get-
jet sweep,
Yeah.
Yep.
especially if you haven't run it yet and it's like week 3. And the other team's like, wait, who's number whatever.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the 7th round pick, the last of the draft. This was T.J. Hall, defensive back out of Iowa, 6 feet 189. Basically, the only bad thing on his resume is the speed.
Yeah.
He is not fast, and they say other than that,
Yeah.
he does everything the way you want to do it. He's very smart, just a good player, good tackler, all that stuff. The speed.
Yeah.
Well, that could
that's-
move him to safety down the road potentially.
Right. Good size, 6 feet 189. I'll be honest with you, I never really watched him play.
At this
but-
point, it's like the Saints have a tough.
If he makes the roster, you hit a home run.
You're in a tough spot because
Probably will. Corner is the weakest spot.
Yeah.
they have tough decisions in terms of like acquiring new talent on the cornerback level. Style is obviously one thing because of the 40 time and the potential even on special teams, et cetera. But like drafting true cornerbacks because like you kind of at some point you have to buy into guys like Quincy Riley and Kool-Aid. Like, I think it's too early to like give up on them or to really invest high draft capital. Now, Caleb Downs would have been one thing because of just the sheer talent. But, to say in the 2nd or 3rd round, like we're going to draft a guy who we hope could one day could project this year or second year to be a starting cornerback. Well, it's like, well, then what are you doing with Riley and
I hear you, but you're also
McKinstry?
one injury away from a huge problem with our depth
Right,
drop
but you
over
are.
there.
But it's like there's got to be a cutoff where it's too early to draft a guy just to be a backup, And
Well,
so
there's
my point is like
there's
I'm
so
good.
many times 3 receivers on the field. I don't know that it's a backup. I don't think we have that 3rd coverage guy covered.
Yeah.
Right now, that's my opinion. Maybe there's someone on the roster that they like. I don't know who it would be. I think you need 3 strong corners.
Someone said it that Mickey was pretty transparent or candid in his press conference that they were looking at that area and just didn't pan out. Like the Chiefs moving up for Delane.
Yeah,
I'm pretty convinced that if Delane was there, we would have picked
That's
him
what I
over-
think,
over
too.
I think so,
Tyson.
too.
So we didn't get him. Obviously, there was something about Downs, or we just had Tyson higher than Downs because, like, if you're looking in that area, like Mickey says, and then
They went with more of a need.
you go with Tyson, then
yeah. I think. Well, they just they have Reed under contract. You just got Sanker in there, who was the best safety of all the rookies, and then
Right.
you re-signed Blackman.
Yeah.
So I get not picking the safety there. I agree with both of y'all. I think if Delane was there, that was the pick.
Yeah, that was the pick.
yeah.
And the
tried to-
Chiefs,
tried to manifest
once
it.
again get our ass.
Well, that's
So
what screwed us. You manifesting it with your lock. You put the stink on it.
Should have gone with Tyson.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about some of the undrafted free agents. You had asked me yesterday who do I think was the one that had the best chance of making the team. I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you it's probably this Michael Heldman, who's an edge out of Central Michigan. His stats are pretty damn good when it comes to like rush rate and all that. I'm trying to find it.
He's got a good eye test too.
Yeah, no. He's athletic as hell. 6'4", 268.
Looks like a
damn good
beast.
size. 4.7 40 for that size is good. 1.64 10-yard split is good. The production, he had 10.5 sacks last year.
Which is awesome.
This dude's got a shot.
Yeah.
I think at the very least.
Practice squad.
Practice squad.
If you look at compensation, the most we paid was to that offensive line.
The
guy.
offensive lineman, Alan Heron out of
yeah.
Maryland. He's a big boy. I know that. He's a right tackle. So, obviously no path to starting anytime soon since you got Fuaga there. But at the same point, he was a 21st ranked offensive tackle. Let's see, size 6'5", 308.
That's kind of skinny for a tackle.
I think he looks in shape.
He might just be
man.
athletic as shit.
It's kind of like
Armstead?
it's like Miller, CM. It's that same
yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
same kind of build. You know what I mean? Where they're not fat.
Well, Miller's
at all.
shorter and 20 pounds on him, or 10. Yeah, but I was saying he doesn't look like you don't have like the gut or whatever.
Yeah, apparently he's going to need a lot of work.
Yeah.
But that's what the practice.
Then you have the
squad is
USC guy, right? That was a high recruit, but
Yeah.
never panned out.
for. Keyshawn Silver,
yeah.
defensive lineman out of USC. I want to say he was a 5-star recruit coming out. 6'4", 330.
That's a big. See, that's your typical like.
Nose.
You see him and you're like, oh, that guy must be a nose tackle.
Yeah.
Like Christian Miller could slide over to the
Christian?
five. Kristen, God, I'm gonna work on it. I was gonna say it a bunch of times by myself tonight. Miller could slide
That
over
has
like
him a little lighter there.
5 technique.
Yeah, it
but
does.
Some guys are like only nose.
Yeah,
that's all they play.
Keyshawn Silver, though, he's another one. If you look at him, he's not fat. He looks like a big defensive end.
Yeah.
They look like they're all built like Charles Grant, except more muscled up.
It's like the modern defensive lineman, man. Like it's rare to find the.
Well, look at this though. So Keyshawn Silver, 35-inch arms, 84 3/8-inch wingspan.
That's wow.
Yeah. A few of the other ones they brought in.
It's a
There's
big-ass wingspan.
Deshaun Jones,
7
a
foot.
cornerback from Alabama. There's another cornerback, Jeremiah McClendon out of Southern Illinois. He had a really good workout.
Saloki.
Yeah. And then a tight end, Cody Hardy out of NC State. Another offensive lineman, Alex Wolschlager.
The tight end was
Kentucky.
because I think I looked at his stats and he had like his receptions over his college career like in the teens.
10
It's
catches
like-
for
he's-
63 yards. He must be a blocker.
He's an all blocker.
Yeah, Jesus, that's crazy. I didn't even look him
I'm
up.
like, how did he play and only end up having that? Even like you have to play like Little Sister of the Poor at some point and get some receptions.
Well, he's 6'3 3/4", 265 pounds.
265.
4'8", 265, 4'8", 840, 23 and a half vert. Look at that.
You know what?
That's a blocker.
You know what they would have called him? You know what they call guys like that back in the day?
Offensive
Fullback.
tackles.
Corey.
Oh, yeah, no, that is a fullback right there, buddy.
Fullback.
Well, hey, maybe we get a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And then what else? They signed a kicker.
Yeah, I saw
So you
that.
got Mason Shipley out of
yeah.
Texas. He went 20 of 24 last year, made all 48 of his extra points.
Can't remember if he hit a big kick or missed a big. He had some game winning
He had a 60
moments.
yarder before.
He's 2 of 5 from 50 though. So
Yeah. And then C.J. Donaldson, running back out of Ohio State. Big boy, 6'2",
Big,
232. Finished his college career with 42 touchdowns between West Virginia and
Oh.
Ohio State.
It's like, what?
Well,
When
he
did
had 10 touchdowns at Ohio State last year.
That's crazy. Was he the goal line guy?
He must have been. I remember him vaguely.
I guess we all forgot who their running back was after they had like 2 drafted last year.
2 drafted in the top 3 rounds.
That I will say though, that's the one position I would have liked to have seen us get. Like,
yeah.
for going as heavy offense as we did, I'm like, I guess I don't know if it's just the running back wasn't there, like the right fit wasn't there when they were up on the clock, or if they actually feel good about where they are in the room. But I would have liked to see get a guy with juice.
Yeah, there's no juice. But I'll say this about Donaldson. I like this synopsis of him here, or just summary of him. Donaldson is an all-gas, downhill back who wants to quickly find a crease, stay north-south, and pound away. Perfect.
Love it.
Boom. It's 6'2", 230. Bring it on.
Yeah, that's like a
4'6", 140.
he's a concussion machine for the other team.
Yeah, that's fun. All right, final thoughts. Give me your 10,000-foot viewpoint on the draft.
I hate to
Keep it
do
short, sweet, and
grades
simple.
because we all saw last year. I think the Saints got an F across the board, and then afterwards they got an A by like everybody. So I'm not going to give grades, but my whole thing is kind of what I said at the beginning. I think what became clear to me is we looked at this draft, coming in and saying where do we need the most, talent infusion, and that was offense. So again, the danger in that is to get overly complacent and say, oh, we had a renaissance on defense. We were great. Staley came in and balled out. We got Caden. We're fine. Riley and McKinstry are fine. We got depth at safety. Like, I hope all that's true, but I really do agree with their approach. It seems like the offense clearly needed help. We just need the ability to score more at will, and I think we addressed that. So I like that we did that. So I agree with the approach. It's clear that they said, good defense, bad offense, let's go offense. And everybody, but either way, across the board, even on defense, we got the position of, I thought was the biggest position of need on defense, D-tackle, interior line.
Yeah.
Because Godshaw, and then what else? Nothing.
I think Godshaw might be a surprise June 1st cut.
Right. So it's like you don't have a nose, effectively, unless Christian Boyd comes
and they re-signed Ridgeway, though.
Comes back from the dead.
Yeah.
But Ridgeway's not really a nose.
Yeah.
So like you that's a key component of Staley's defense, just not there. So we need.
But is he a true nose?
He is.
You think so?
He's not.
He's a versatile.
He's versatile.
interior
That's his
lineman.
primary.
I don't know if he's a true
He
nose.
can play if you.
He's versatile, but he
If
can
you
play.
tell him to play only nose, he can do that. He's got the size, he's got the technique. The difference is that he doesn't look like your prototypical nose, but he's got the mass, and he can play other positions. You usually don't see that out of a nose tackle.
I think Staley is looking for versatility. I think
that's why I think
he
the
wants
upside.
Same thing with Vernon Gordon last year.
And there's
Yes.
there's a chance where even if we had, there's a world in which if like Caden McDonald was available when we
might not have taken
may
him.
have taken Miller anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He can play more spots.
I think Max and I were kind of going back and forth about Max said that the run defense sucked. I mean, they didn't. I looked it up. It was like 17th or something. They didn't suck. They weren't good. But they had many good games. But then they the quick backs really gave us trouble. Right.
Yeah.
It was the James Cooks that gave us hell.
Swift.
Yeah. But I think what might be happening is that he's willing to give up a little bit of that.
Yeah.
To prevent the big plays and just keep.
Because we improved there. We improved there.
You can't argue with. We were not giving up yards overall. The total package was working last year. So I think he wants versatility so he can mix and match from game to game and figure things out. That he doesn't necessarily need that true. A true Godshaw. I don't think he really right.
Well, you hear that about like yes, it's a 3-4. It's not a base 4-3, but even with Staley, the kind of the Fangio vibe of it, his background, it's like a 3-4 one-off. It's not a true, always 3 down, always 4 up. It's different, but
he's got pieces now. Signing the guy after the draft for the Patriots.
Yeah. So
that's
anyway,
your run guy. You put him next to
so I think
Miller, and then you've got an anchor of a run-focused defensive line if you're getting beat that way.
I'm okay with what we did it could have been more, sure, but like overall, I like that we addressed some serious concerns on offense. I like that we got Delp. Maybe it was a little high, whatever, but he's somebody that we desperately needed, kind of a wild card for other defenses to deal with in addition to the 2 tight ends we have now. And so I like what we did from that standpoint. I mean, was it a knockout home run draft? We won't know that until these guys actually play football. But
we won't know for 3 to 5 years.
I like the way it looks. I guarantee it.
I think this is Max's Super Bowl, so we'll let him go last. The draft is his thing. So I think exactly what you said. The individual players, I'm not going to speak on that. Like we don't scout these guys. We see what we see. Generally, you're going to see the best of all these players whenever you're looking for information on them. They're not going to post highlights that suck.
Right.
Generally, so like you put Tyson's 20 best plays. You're like, holy shit. But
ESPN needs to do like an after dark channel with only bad plays for these guys.
it would help us fans. But what I'll say is if we do sign that corner, and I mean a starting caliber corner, and they're out there to be signed, Snead's been talked about, Moore's been talked about, there's options out there. If they do that, everything they did makes perfect sense to me. It doesn't mean I agree with every pick. I do feel we reached for a couple things, but again, they're the ones doing the scouting. If that's their guy, I'll trust them. Just like we said last year, like we didn't know a lot of those guys. We're going to see that Riley was a ball hawk after the fact, but we didn't watch Riley play college football. So I understand the vision, the moves with the trade with the Raiders and then signing the Patriots DE kind of solved that need without the draft. Love it. That kind of fixed where I was feeling we were missing, that something had to be done there, especially with Cam unsigned still. Like, it's an even bigger hole right now. Yeah. So I love those two moves, and if we just go out and get one of those corners that's sitting out on the open market right now, I see the complete vision of what they're doing. Now, they have to be right about Tyson and Delt, because addressing the offense is one thing. Reaching up for players hoping they address the offense is a different thing. So they have to come in. They have to be what they think they are. And if they are, it does transform the offense overnight. It really does. You've added two more skilled players to throw the ball to, matchup nightmares with Olave, Vele coming in, the running back room better than it's been in years.
A-Chain at the backfield.
Yeah. I think replacing, getting Edwards at guard is huge. You've overhauled the offense in one offseason if you're right about these picks. So, correct. And I do agree with you all 1,000%. That was the bigger need because that was the poor unit. Yeah. So I totally get focusing on it. I just think there were a couple spots to plug major holes with really talented guys where we chose to keep going offense. Maybe I would have done that differently. But if they do sign the corner and you've got the two edge guys a different way, that kind of addresses it. So I'm good with it. I'm just going to be watching, hoping they sign one of these corners.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I love the approach. I've been very vocal saying you have a potential quarterback at the present and the future on the roster. Flood him with weapons. Give him every chance to succeed. Fix the offensive line. They got a starting left guard in free agency. I said, get more juice at the running back room. We got A-Chan in free agency. The draft, 3 wide receivers, a tight end. You sign Fant. Like, they have flooded the offense with speed and given Shough actual viable NFL players. Yeah. He didn't have that at the end of the year. He was lining up with a bunch of, future UPS delivery drivers. It was bad watching these guys. Like, one of them has already been cut, and I got a feeling that you're just going to start to see him fall off one by one between now and the end of rookie mini camp, which is in like 2 weeks. Yeah. These guys are going to fall off.
Yeah, I saw Ralph posted The Purge.
Yeah, Kellen Moore and that's what it needs to be, because you saw the clip. Everyone saw the Twitter post of Tyler Shough working out at Tulane Stadium with the wide receivers. And the cast of wide receivers and tight ends that was working out with Shough at Tulane is flat out embarrassing. Like, this is it's sad to think that these people were being trotted out on an NFL field to play in a game. In week 16 and 17 and 18, it's like these guys are terrible.
Yeah, and that's the risk you can't take.
Would have been nice to see our future $40 million man out there, though.
It would have been.
Would have liked to have seen that kind of investment into this team getting better.
But look, the wide receiver room was the biggest focus of my anger for the last few years. I feel so much better having triple dipped at wide receiver this year.
Yeah.
Tyson would not have been my pick at 8. Well documented. We've already talked about it. But that being said, he's now a Saint. I'm all in. Let's hope he stays healthy. I hope he turns into the love child of Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, with a little bit of like TO sprinkled in. You know what I mean? Like, we're pulling for him to stay healthy and be a 1,500 yards a year guy. And then let's see what happens with the rest of the room.
Isaac Bruce. That's who I think he could be, if he's the top version of himself. Isaac Bruce killed the zone, intermediate routes. That's what Kellen runs. That's where I think he's going to do well. I really do. Stylistically, not player-wise.
Yeah, that would be fun.
That's a Hall of Famer. So I'm not saying that.
I don't want to get into a full debate with you on that.
Yeah. And either way, I love the approach. Yeah. I also love the Tyree Wilson. We talked about that. Jennings from the Patriots after the fact. I do think they will sign a cornerback or two once you get to the the post June 1st purge, which there will be another purge across the league where you're going to see some good players get cut.
Yep.
And look, I'm excited, man. I think it's going to be so much more fun this year doing the season preview episode when we're talking about the running back room and the wide receiver room and the tight end room and the quarterback room. Because last year, those rooms were bad.
Definitely more to
going
talk
into
about. Yeah.
the season. Quarterback was a huge question mark. Running back was slow. Wide receiver was abysmal. Tight end was abysmal. So this year it's going to be fun to talk about it because we have young talent there.
Yeah, and it would be a tragedy if you finally have a guy at QB after the post-Breeze desert that looks like he could truly be the guy. Not the next Breeze, but could just be a seriously good, like, just great Saints QB of our history of QBs. And it would be a tragedy if we had that and then just did not support him.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad we've made we're at least making an effort. Like, who knows how these guys pan out? Could Tyson be a bust? Sure. Could Lance end up not making the team? Sure. All that stuff could happen, but at least we're trying, damn it.
Yeah, and I would really want to shake Kellen Moore's hand because this draft I loved it. Once we got past the first pick, everyone else that got drafted, I'm like, oh, okay, you know what? I understand the vision. I like the pick. And the biggest thing, no small school guys other than Lance.
Yeah.
Everybody else is from a strong school, that plays actual competition. Two guys from Georgia, obviously. Iowa always plays good defense. You got a DB there. You got a guy from Ohio State.
LSU.
They're not picking through the bargain bin looking for these diamonds in the rough.
But a lot of high RAS scores for Corey.
There were a lot of high RAS, but at least it wasn't. The theme though was fit.
Let's wrap it. Let's land the plane on this.
But the theme was fit, and you heard Mickey say a lot of them are well coached. They come from good programs, and then the one guy who did come from, small school but great program in North Dakota State. Like they're always in
national champions.
And his brother was in the league, even though he didn't really pan out. But at least
he's still in the league, back up in Los Angeles.
That's right. So that's
my last thought on it is the team got faster, substantially faster, which was necessary.
Yeah.
Special teams should be much improved now because you've got some actual speed demons that are going to be running around as returners, gunners, all that stuff.
You got a young coach in Kellen, and then analytics master and guru and Staley saying like, we need some fucking fast dudes.
Yeah, and here's the other thing: we said from the get-go, this was not going to be a 1-year fix. This is not going to be a 2-year fix. This is going to be a 3-year fix. And I think we got to get through this season, get through another round of free agency. Then that is where you can go ahead and slide all your chips in on the table and go big and make the push for a title.
We need those damn doctors to step it up.
That's where
make some calls there, Nick. We need to stay healthy.
Yeah, that's the path you're hoping you're taking. This year, it's make the playoffs.
Win the division this year.
In.
The division's there for any of the 4 teams. Yeah. Be the best team this year in that division. It's a bad division.
But you're going for a Super Bowl in year 3.
At this point, but the guys we got now, stay healthy. Just stay healthy, damn it.
So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up this episode. We'll be back soon enough. Not sure what the topic will be. I guess we can probably do rookie minicamp for the next episode, or maybe we'll work in
Nick's favorite
themed
topic.
Episode. Yeah, Corey can tell us how many passes against air that Shough, he goes 8 of 8.
If Carr looked good, just imagine what Shuck's going to look like.
Yeah.
Whew.
Well,
with all that speed now,
get your binoculars ready.
He's going to be
track it.
100% completion rate on 70-yard passes. It's going to be incredible.
It's going to look like a pro day.
7v7s.
Yeah. Either way, we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. Thank you for listening to the Saintsaholics Anonymous podcast. Who dat?
Who dat?